The cape you never asked to wear, what happens when you finally put it down? Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something with you that came from a conversation that shook me, grounded me, and reminded me why this work matters. I recently had the honor of interviewing Yvonne Bankhead, a woman whose life is a living testament to resilience, reinvention, and the refusal to let pain write the final chapter. Yvonne's story is not just inspiring, it's necessary. It's the kind of story that reminds us that no matter how long we've been stuck, no matter how heavy the cape we've been carrying, we can still choose ourselves. We can still walk away from what breaks us and walk toward what builds us. Yvonne is making the world a better place by showing us that transformation is not reserved for the young, the privileged, or the unscathed. She's proving that even after 28 years in an abusive relationship, after decades of chronic illness, after raising 4 children in the storm, you can still sing, still write, still love again, still build a new life. She is living proof that your story is not over until you say it is. And that's what I want to talk about today because here's the truth. And I need you to hear this clearly. Your starting point does not define your finish line. Let me say that again. Your starting point does not define your finish line. Yvonne Bankhead's life began in struggle. Born in Germany, raised in poverty after her parents divorced, watching her mother work two, sometimes three jobs just to keep the lights on. She became a caretaker early, watching her siblings while her mother worked herself to exhaustion. And then at 14 years old, she got sick. Not a cold, not something that goes away with rest. Chronic illness that would follow her for decades. And in the middle of all that, she had 4 children. And she stayed in an abusive relationship for 28 years. 28 years. Not because she was weak, not because she didn't know better, but because survival mode doesn't always give you the luxury of clarity. It gives you tunnel vision. It gives you the belief that enduring is the same thing as living. And for so many of us, especially Black women, we've been taught that endurance is our superpower. That if we can just hold on a little longer, carry a little more, sacrifice a little harder, everything will be okay. But Yvonne's story teaches us something different. It teaches us that there comes a moment when endurance has to give way to escape, when survival has to give way to self love, when the cape has to come off, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally choosing to live. After 28 years, Yvonne left. She got a divorce. She moved to Cincinnati. She started a singing career. She wrote books. She got remarried. And she is still to this day fighting her health battles, still creating, still refusing to let her past dictate her future. That is what never giving up looks like. It's not pretty, it's not polished, it's not a motivational poster. It's showing up on the days when your body hurts, your heart is heavy, and you still decide, well, I'm not done yet. Now, I want to be clear about something. This message, this theme of never giving up, it's not about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending that pain doesn't exist or that trauma doesn't leave scars. It's about acknowledging that pain is real, that trauma is valid, and that you still have the right to choose healing. You still have the right to choose softness. You still have the right to choose yourself. And that's what Yvonne did. She chose herself, not once, but over and over again. Every time she got up in the morning, despite chronic illness, every time she wrote another song, another book, every time she decided that her story was not over. Let me tell you about someone else who chose herself. Oprah Winfrey. Now, I know Oprah's name is everywhere, but stay with me because her story is not just about fame, it's about survival. Oprah was born into poverty in rural Mississippi. She wore dresses made from potato sacks. She was sexually abused starting at age 9. She became pregnant at 14, and her baby died shortly after birth. She faced racism and sexism as a young Black woman trying to break into broadcasting in the 1970s, and she could have given up. She could have believed the world when it told her she wasn't enough. But instead, she threw herself into education. She won a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. She took a job at a local radio station as a teenager and learned the craft. She shifted from news to talk shows, leaning into her superpower, empathetic, authentic conversation. And then she did something radical. She negotiated ownership of her show and its production, building true wealth and power. Oprah became the first Black woman billionaire in the United States. She built an empire that includes television, film, publishing, and philanthropy. She founded the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, investing in the next generation of Black girls. She redefined daytime television and opened doors for Black women in media ownership. She normalized open conversation about trauma, healing, and self worth, especially for Black women. Oprah's life is proof that a Black woman from poverty can move from local anchor to global empire purely by never giving up on herself. Her trajectory from poverty, abuse, and teen pregnancy to billionaire media owner embodies the idea that your starting point does not dictate your ending. And that's the first thing I want you to remember from Yvonne Bankhead's story. Your starting point does not define your finish line. You can be born in struggle, grow up poor, experience divorce, illness, abuse, and still create a new life, new love, new career, and new identity. Your beginning is context, not a sentence. The second thing I want you to remember is this: you can choose yourself, even after years of not choosing yourself. Let me introduce you to Bozoma St. John. Bozoma is a Ghanaian American marketing executive who rose from a background of immigration and repeated career pivots to become chief marketing officer at major companies like Endeavor and Netflix. She immigrated from Ghana to the United States as a child, navigating cultural displacement and racism. She built a career in predominantly white, male tech and entertainment spaces, often being the only Black woman in the room. And in 2013, her husband, Peter St. John, died of cancer, leaving her a widow and single mother while she was still rising professionally. Bazoma could have shrunk back. She could have dimmed her light. But instead, she used her cultural background and authenticity as strengths, not liabilities. She incorporated bold African inspired fashion and unapologetic Blackness into boardrooms and conferences. She leaned into high visibility roles at PepsiCo, Beats by Dre, Apple Music, Uber, and Endeavor, taking on pressure filled positions rather than shrinking back. She continued advancing her career even in the midst of grief, choosing to honor her husband's memory by living fully and fearlessly. Bazoma became one of the most recognizable Black women executives in global marketing, often called a powerhouse CMO. She was named to lists like Fortune's Most Powerful Women and Billboard's Women in Music Executives. She used her platform to advocate for diversity, inclusion, and authenticity in corporate spaces. She broke barriers as a Black woman in top marketing roles and made it more normal to see Black women leading major global brands. She inspired a generation of young Black professionals to show up in their full selves, not a watered down version. She demonstrated that grief, hardship, and systemic bias do not have to be the end of your ambition. Bazoma's journey shows that even after devastating loss, losing a spouse, becoming a single mother, you can still climb, still shine, still expand. She did not give up on her career or her identity. Instead, she leaned harder into who she truly is, refusing to dim down to fit a template. And that brings me to the third thing I want you to remember. Never give up is not about perfection, it's about persistence through pain. Let me tell you about Dr. Tamika Cross. Dr. Cross is a young Black woman, OBGYN, who was on a Delta flight in 2016 when a passenger had a medical emergency. When she volunteered to help, a flight attendant questioned whether she was really a doctor. She was repeatedly questioned about her legitimacy as a doctor, while a man was in need of urgent care. She had to process the anger, hurt, and public scrutiny that followed when the story went viral. But Dr. Cross did not stay silent. She publicly shared her experience on social media, refusing to internalize the discrimination. She used the platform to highlight the broader issue. People do not expect doctors to look like young Black women. She continued practicing medicine and speaking out, choosing advocacy and visibility instead of retreat. Delta updated its policies around how flight crews verify medical professionals, partly in response to public pressure created by her story. Her story sparked widespread conversation about what a real doctor looks like, especially in relation to Black women. Dr. Cross became a symbol of professional resilience, showing that even when expertise is doubted, you can stand in your truth and push for structural change. Dr. Cross worked for years to become a physician, navigating the usual gauntlet of medical training as a Black woman in a field where she is underrepresented. On that flight, all of that hard work was dismissed in a moment by someone who couldn't see her as a doctor. Instead of letting that diminish her, she turned the incident into a catalyst for awareness and change. She completed medical school and residency, becoming a board certified OB/GYN. She used one painful incident to fuel a national conversation about bias in healthcare and beyond. She continues to practice and advocate, modeling resilience for young Black women in medicine. Dr. Cross's story shows that never give up is not always about surviving poverty or long term abuse. Sometimes it's about refusing to give up your voice and dignity when you are underestimated or disrespected in real time. She mirrors the message of standing strong in who you are, even when the world tries to tell you you're not enough. Now, let me bring this back to you because this is not just about Yvonne Bankhead, Oprah Winfrey, Bazoma St. John, or Dr. Tamika Cross. This is about you. This is about the woman listening right now who is tired, who has been carrying everyone else, who has been in survival mode for so long that she forgot what it feels like to just breathe. Here's what I need you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. First, tell the truth about where you are stuck, whether it's an abusive relationship, a draining job, unhealed trauma, or a health battle you've been ignoring. Name it out loud. You cannot fight what you refuse to face. Write it down. Say it to someone you trust. Speak it into existence so it stops living in the shadows of your mind. Second, commit to one brave step in the next 24 to 72 hours. Call a therapist, a domestic violence hotline, or a trusted friend. Book the doctor's appointment you keep putting off. Start the application, the business plan, or the song you've been afraid to write. Put a timeline on your exit from the situation that's breaking you. One step, one phone call, one decision. Third, build a never give up routine, not just a never give up motto. Write down one reason you refuse to give up every single morning. Set a small daily action toward your new life, 15 minutes of writing, research, vocal practice, or exercise. Surround yourself with at least one community, online or in person, where Black professionals and entrepreneurs are talking about healing and growth, not just hustle. Because here's what I need you to understand: softness is not weakness, choosing yourself is not selfish, resting is not lazy, and walking away from what breaks you is not giving up. It's the bravest thing you can do. Yvonne Bankhead taught me that. She stayed in an abusive relationship for 28 years, then decided to leave, rebuild, move cities, start a singing career, write books, remarry, and keep fighting for her health. That shows that it is never too late to walk away from what breaks you and walk toward what builds you. Your starting point does not define your finish line. You can choose yourself, even after years of not choosing yourself. And never give up is not about perfection, it's about persistence through pain. So I'm asking you today, what cape are you ready to drop? What version of yourself are you ready to stop performing? What story are you ready to rewrite? Because your soft girl era is not a destination, it's a decision. A decision to stop surviving and start living. A decision to stop proving and start being. A decision to stop caring and start creating. And the world needs you whole, not broken and busy, not exhausted and excellent. Whole, soft, free. So take the step, make the call, write the truth. Choose yourself, not because it's easy, but because you are worth it. You have always been worth it. And it is never, ever too late to claim the life you deserve.